Alright, welcome back YouTube. I don't have a review today. I'm just going to give you a little bit of information about who I am and why I vape. I'm going to tell you my vaping story. I think it's important for any of us, even with the 60 subscribers that I have, who are on YouTube, to come out and tell you what it is that we went through, what we experienced as former smokers who have turned to vaping. And my vaping story goes back to when I was in middle school, and like so many of us in middle school, I had a couple of different groups of friends. Some were the good friends, some were the not so good friends, the ones that your parents really didn't care for you hanging out with. Those are the guys I generally hung out with in my neighborhood. When I was 11 years old, I actually picked up smoking. It was a habit that I picked up from a buddy of mine's friend. His older brother actually smoked, and we used to snatch cigarettes off of him, and a bunch of my mom's friends smoked, so that I'd start pilfering cigarettes off of them as well. Eventually my buddy's brother got old enough that he could buy cigarettes, and what we would do, and keep in mind this is like 1986, 1987, my buddy and I, we would save up a few bucks between the two of us, and we'd have his brother go out and buy 3 packs of cigarettes. We'd pay for all 3 packs, he got one for free. And for the longest time, that's how we did this. And I did it because of the people that we were hanging out with, because it was the cool thing to do. And you gotta remember, this is the mid-80s. This is before a great deal of the smoking legislation and the knowledge about what smoking is really came out. I mean, people knew it was dangerous. People knew that smoking was unhealthy. But it was a different era. This is 30 years ago, and attitudes towards smoking were greatly different than they are right now. It wasn't seen as, such the health risk that it is, even though everyone really knew that it was really bad for you. But anyway, we had a way to get cigarettes, so we did it to be cool. I mean, for the longest time, I didn't even actually inhale the cigarette smoke, and a pack of cigarettes would last me, good lord, a month or two. But eventually, the addiction started taking in. You keep doing something, even if it's just to be cool, the nicotine starts getting in your body, and your body starts craving that. I live 2 streets down from the main intersection into my neighborhood, and the guy at the Magic Market, the convenience store up there, was good friends with me. He was a younger convenience store worker, and he was one of these guys where if I could put money on the counter, he was going to sell me the cigarettes. His thought process behind this, right or wrong, was that if I didn't get the cigarettes from him, I was going to get it from somewhere else. And he would just as soon go ahead and sell it to me directly and save me the money. So that really got things going in earnest. And by the time I was in high school, I was smoking probably 8 or 10 cigarettes a day, something like that. I was a half-pack smoker throughout most of high school. Then I got a car. I was 16, started working, got a little more freedom. I was able to get away from the home a little bit because, at 11, 12 years old, me and my buddies would go smoke around the neighborhood. We'd go walk around, and we're god-awful paranoid that every adult that we see is going to go running back to our parents and tell them that, hey, we see your kid smoking. I mean, in truth, these people don't know us from Adam. I mean, we lived in a fairly large neighborhood. But we would do our bit. We would smoke, we would come back, and we would clean up as best as we can. And, I suspect that my dad knew it. I have my suspicions. He was a smoker from the time he joined the Navy in 1960 all the way up until I was about 7 years old in 1982. He went ahead and gave up the habit cold turkey. More power to him. I couldn't do it. So I think he, as a former smoker, suspected that I was doing it, especially after I started driving, because that's when I really started smoking. I quickly went up to a pack-a-day habit, and by the time I was in college, I was about a pack and a half. So fast forward a bit. When I was 25, I got married, and again, I was about a pack and a half to 2 packs a day at that point. A few years later, I decided to sign on the dotted line, and I joined the Navy. And that's a different environment. It's a different world there. It's difficult to smoke, or quit smoking rather, in the military, but in the Navy in particular, because you're bottled up on a ship or in a submarine, and I did both. I started off as a submariner, then I shifted over to carriers. And it's really, really difficult to quit smoking in the military in general, but in the Navy, you really have nothing else to do. I mean, one of the things that you actually do to relax, because you're cooped up on this big chunk of metal in or on the water, is go out and take a look, especially on the carrier, at the ocean. It looks the same every day. I mean, the water doesn't change, but it's just something to do. You go watch the sunset, you go watch the sunrise, depending on what shift you're working, and it just fed itself. The habit did. And I tried everything. After my son was born, and he was born before I joined the Navy, I tried quitting smoking a few times, and I never had any success with it. It was just so discouraging, and I felt like such a failure because I couldn't give it up. And I served in the Navy for just about 8 years. And about a year and a half before I quit, got out of the Navy, rather. I remember one of my shipmates came into one of our compartments, and he was playing poker with us that night. And he broke out this little box that I guess was about yay tall, and had a little cartomizer, I didn't know what it was at the time, sticking out of the end of it, and he just pulls a vape off of it. What the hell is that? What is this thing? He said, oh, it's an e-cigarette. I'm like, e-cigarette? What's that? He says, well, it takes all this vapor and blah, 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 and he tries to explain it to me as best he can, but, you know, he didn't know a great deal about it. I took a hit off of it, and his was a Red Bull flavor. It just didn't do a whole lot for me, but I said, that's not a bad idea. So we were about 2 weeks from pulling into port at that point. We pull into port. I tell my wife about this, and she said, oh, yeah. I'm on some message boards with a bunch of my friends, and, you know, their husbands, and they have quit smoking using these, and I was stationed in San Diego at the time. So we run down to this shop in San Diego, Vape Pure, I think was the name of it, and they sold these cigalikes. And it worked, kind of, but it was too much of a pain in the ass, to be perfectly honest. I mean, these are the old, it was an old 808 two-piece cigalike, where I was having to fill the cartomizers after about every 10th or 12th drag, and I was having to charge up the batteries after about 20 minutes of use. And the thing came with 2 batteries, didn't come with a charging pack. It was just basically too much of a hassle. And I was transitioning at that point. I was trying to transition from a smoker to a vapor, and it was just too much to handle. It was too easy just to go grab a pack of smokes and feed the monkey on my back and just keep feeding him. So anyway, I went back to smoking, and I hid it from my family. I hid it from my wife. I was lying about it. You know, just typical stuff that addicts do. And like any other type of addiction, it causes you to do some weird things because you want that cigarette. So I smoked for a while longer, got out of the Navy, came back to Charleston. Very shortly after that, and I'm still smoking at the time, I picked up a little side job with Google, and I was at one of the training events for them. And one of the guys that was actually conducting the training was out in the smoke pit, or the smoking area, outside of the hotel that we were staying at for the training. He's staying outside of there, and he's vaping, and he's got this thing that looks like a big pen, and it's just chucking clouds of vapor. And I looked at him and I said, what is that? And he shows it to me, and it's, you know, I know now as a CE4 clearomizer with a little twist battery, Ego Twist. He screws the top of it off, blip, pops some juice in there, and he vapes it. And I said, that, to myself, I said, that can get me off of cigarettes. That is what I need. I need that convenience. I need something that easy. So, that night, while I'm still at the hotel, I start doing my research, and I ask him, what company did you get that from? He said, oh, it's Totally Wicked E-Liquid. And I remember the name, because my buddy, who got that little box that I've never seen since, he picked up his kit from Totally Wicked E-Liquid. So I started doing my research. I started looking over message boards. I started, you know, looking at reviews of these products, and I found a couple of good products on Totally Wicked, and what I isolated it down to was a pass-through, a USB pass-through twist battery. Went from 3.7 to 4.8 volts. You know, you had the little bottom, boop, you just twist it, and it worked fine. It had a little plug on the side. And I used a CE5 Ego-threaded clearomizer. It was top-filled. You just pop the top off, blip, and fill it up. That easy. And I told myself, and I set it in my head, this thing is easier to use. This thing is convenient. It's going to satisfy. This is what I need. So, of course, I did some research on e-liquids, and I found that at the time I probably needed something like an 18 milligram strength. So I picked up some juice from Totally Wicked as well, and I got a coupon code from them and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I picked up an assortment of juices, and a lot of them were tobaccos, and I picked up some fruits and desserts because everyone was into it at the time. Found out real quickly I didn't like anything but tobaccos. And, man, I still remember a couple of their flavors, too. They had this cherry cigar, and they had this cherry cheroot, which is a type of cigar. And those are my go-to flavors. I mean, I just vaped on those left and right. This kit came in. I ordered it the day I got back from that training, and it came in a few days later. And when that kit came in, I put my pack of cigarettes down, got rid of it, opened up the kit, set it up, and started vaping. The first day I vaped on that kit was the last day I smoked. That was 4 years ago. And I've been vaping ever since. And of course my tastes and style of vaping has changed a bit, but what hasn't is that I'm still a tobacco vapor. You know, I like tobacco vapes, and it makes sense. As a smoker, I was the kind of guy who would smoke a cigar anytime I got an opportunity. I just loved the entire experience of smoking a cigar. I loved drawing the smoke into my lungs. I inhaled cigars. I loved the flavor, I loved the aroma, and I smoked pipe tobacco quite a bit as well, especially while I was a geo-bachelor stationed in the Navy. You know, my wife couldn't stand the smell of the stuff, but you know, I smoked a pipe anytime I got an opportunity, and those are the flavors I migrate towards right now, and right now I smoke a pipe/cigar flavored tobacco. And yeah, the first day I vaped was the last day I smoked, and because I was using a high nicotine content, I never really had the nicotine cravings. I had a desire to smoke just because you're a creature of habit. You want to just keep doing what you do. But I had it set in my mind, and I gave myself, you know, I don't know, the willpower, I guess, to just say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to see this through. And I never really was jonesing for a cigarette the way I was with that Cigalite kit. I wasn't getting what I needed out of that. I got total satisfaction out of the CE5 kit. And yeah, I've been doing this since. I've moved on to RTAs and RDAs and all kinds of other stuff. I'm using these mods with replaceable batteries, and you know, vaping at substantially higher wattage than the 7 or 8 watts that I started off at. But I do this because I noticed about that time, you know, the first few times I started trying to quit, that I'd been smoking for a while. I started smoking when I was 11, and I started suffering health consequences. I was short-winded, and I really noticed this in boot camp when I was trying to run. And boot camp, I couldn't smoke. So for 9 weeks, my body purged. And at the end of that 9 weeks, I was in better health. I was running around. I was like, man, I feel great. I get to the airport out of boot camp when I'm shipping off to my first duty station, and I bought a $10 pack of cigarettes and a $6 lighter. That's how strong the habit was. With me, anyway. Sorry about that. So, and it was all back downhill from there. I started smoking again. And of course, I'm in the military. Everybody smokes. And this is before this really took off. Yeah. And my health started degrading again. I started coughing and hacking. I had the smoker's hack. And in the military, we had to run occasionally. You know, you got to do it. You got to be in shape to be in the military. And I noticed that I was in the 3 Mile Club. In the Navy, we had to do the PFA, the Physical Fitness Assessment, twice a year. We had to run 1.5 miles. So I was in the 3 Mile Club. I ran 3 miles a year, only during those sessions. And I did this because running sucked. I mean, anytime I ran, I got the stitch in my side. I was short of breath. I mean, I felt like an 80-year-old man out there running. I really did. And that wasn't enough for me to quit. Shortly before I joined the Navy, and this, you know, backtracking a little bit, my uncle, he smoked for years, and he passed away due to complications of emphysema and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, directly from smoking. And I watched him deteriorate. I watched him turn from, you know, just a burly, manly man into just a ball of putty. You know, the cancer just ate him alive. That wasn't enough for me to quit. You know, I remember my dad smoking when I was a kid, and I don't know if that's what got it started. I'm not going to lay blame or anything, because ultimately it's all on this guy. But I looked at my son at that point, and when I quit, he was not even 10 years old. And I told myself when this kid came in, he's not going to see me smoke ever again. I don't want him to see this. I don't want him to see me wither away. I don't want him to have to watch me die, and I don't want him to smoke in the future. And, to that effect, I do try to educate him on this, and I tell him, I vape because I have to not smoke. I have to do it to not smoke. For me, this is a crutch that I need. I need this to not smoke. I know unequivocally that if I give this up, that within 6 months I'd be smoking again, because I enjoy the process. I enjoy the experience. And I'll go back to it. So anyway, I quit. And in very short order, I'm talking 2 months, my voice improved. I had the gravelly smoker's voice. The hack. It got worse initially because my lungs are purging themselves, but that cleared up after about 3 months. Since then, I became a cop. And when I went to the academy, we of course had to do the running around at the academy, and I dreaded that before I went in, because I went into this with the experience of the smoking runner that I was before. And when I went to the academy, I'd quit smoking for quite a while at that point. So I get to the academy, and then I found out that, hey, I can run. I get out there and run 1.5 miles, 2 miles, 3 miles, and I'm outrunning people who are, well, not half my age, but close enough. The vaping changed my life, improved my health, and every day I see my health improve. After I became a cop, my wife and I had another child. My daughter is now 2.5 years old. When she was born, I reaffirmed myself. I told myself, she will never, ever, ever know a time that I smoked. She will never have a memory of me drawing on a cigarette. She will never know a time that I smelled like smoke. Because, she was kind of a slightly later in life gift to us. I was 38 when she was born. And I, told myself, I want her to have a memory, years down the road when I'm gone and dead from some natural cause. I want to walk her down the aisle. I want to see her at her prom. Well, not at her prom, but I want to see her before she goes to her prom. I want to pester the crap out of her boyfriends. I want to do all the things that dads do. I don't want her to walk down the aisle with someone else on her arm, wishing that her father was there, having just a memory of me. I want her to have the real deal. So why do I vape? I vape for my health. I vape for me. I vape because I don't want to smoke anymore. And I vape for my family. I want them to continue to have a husband and a father. I want my friends to continue to have me around. Why do I record these videos? Because somebody else out there is having the same experience that I did. Someone else is struggling with it. Someone else is using a product like this. This is the type of thing that a lot of us start off of. That just isn't doing it. And I want to give them the education. And I want to give them options. I vape so that I can be free of that monkey on my back, and so that I can continue to live. It's real simple. If I smoke, I'm going to die. It runs in my family, and I was slowly but surely killing myself. I hope to walk my daughter down the aisle when she gets married, if she chooses to do that. I want to see my kids graduate from college. I want to see them lead their own lives. And I don't want them to have a memory of a father and a gravestone to go visit. So I vape for them. I vape for me. I vape for my friends. And I vape for everyone around me who doesn't have to inhale my secondhand smoke. So, to that effect, please support advocacy. Support the Cole Bishop Amendment. Support HR 2058. Visit Not Blowing Smoke. Visit Right to Be Smoke Free. Visit AMSA. Visit CASAL. Join them. If you can donate, donate. Do what you got to do to protect our rights. And if you're a vapor who's struggling, push forward. Stay the course. If you're a vapor who's established and you're doing well with it, and you know any smokers who are thinking about switching over, educate them. Give them the chances that we have. And, yeah. Really nothing else to it. Just plain and simple. I smoke for my health and my family. Thanks for watching. Sorry there wasn't no review this time, but it's just kind of a more serious subject. Vape on.